Good afternoon, folks. My name's Sandy. This is Sawing with Sandy. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my beautiful woodlot. What I'm doing today is going out and buttoning up some loose ends just as winter starts to set in. If you have a look behind me, we have had a little bit of snow overnight. In fact, we have had several days of snow. It just tends to melt in the warmer afternoon sun. However, my time is ticking because winter will be setting in very shortly. At night, it is below freezing most nights. Looking at the long-term forecast, it looks like we're not even getting above freezing during the day. And so the ground out here will freeze solid before long. If I don't take care of the high spots on a lot of my trails, what will happen is it'll stay a high spot until spring when things melt again. And when I'm going through and I'm, trying to move around IBC cages of firewood, or I'm going through and I'm snow blowing or anything like that, I'm gonna have a little bump in the trail. And I don't like that. It is kind of a wake-up call when you're snow blowing, especially as you're looking back with the snowblower like mine and you hit a solid chunk. You always wonder what it is. So I'm going to try to knock those down here today. And if we make our way out this way, the trails I'm going to go down include this one. There's a little bit of a high spot up in that area, and over that way you can't see that trail, but also down this way. Down this trail there's a wet spot down here, and there's also a little bit of a tire marks, which creates a high spot in the center. I'm just going to smooth that out, maybe make our way down here. This area right here, if we look, this is the chop shop on the left, the building. Right here it's a bit low and then it's a bit high. I want to knock this area down here so it's one level. I don't want the water to constantly collect here because that'll freeze obviously, and it eventually in the spring when it melts will create a bit of a muddy area. So I'm going to smooth this out so that it's the same plane. And then we also have a newly constructed trail, which hopefully you saw the video for that. But that newly constructed trail is right over where the tractor is. And this trail is especially rough right now. All I did recently was go through and more or less take out the brush, take out the trees, and that's it. So what we're going to use is this thing here, a land plane. And this land plane, which sits right down on the ground, runs on these shoes here. It's going to cut the soil and knock down all those high spots with these two edges. Now on the front of this land plane, you'll notice we have scarifiers. I've got them lifted all the way up. I don't need them to be down into the soil right now. Plus there's an awful lot of roots. I don't want them catching on it. So we raise those up, but that's gonna do the majority of the work right there. As I was saying, here's the trail we're gonna head down. We have a whole bunch of stuff like this, which actually it's starting to freeze already. Just a whole bunch of debris. I'm sure it'll knock that out of the way. And as we make our way further here, you'll notice the ground is very uneven. So check that out. This isn't going to be too much fun if I want to keep this trail open in the winter. When I go through with the snowblower, what'll happen is the snowblower will go along and I'll hit those little high spots, and the snowblower will want to dig in. And so I'll get rid of those high spots, or at least smooth them out a little better. And that way when the spring rolls around as well, hopefully I don't have as many low-lying areas that collect with water. So we'll make our way down here and those other spots that I mentioned. Now just getting back to the land plane, as you can see here, I got this from Farmer Equipment Sales. They're relatively local to me, just a bit south. They have this thing that they sell, but they also sell that thing back there. That's a box blade. Many of you will probably wonder why I'm using a land plane as opposed to a box blade. Well, the big difference is this land plane will not hold on to the dirt. It's just going to basically smooth it out. The dirt will fly or move over the top of these edges and then fall back behind it. And so here's my box blade. As you can see, when you look at it from a first look, it's a lot narrower. There's only the one edge on it. We do have the scarifiers, just like on the land plane. But we have the solid back. So that edge there will grab onto the soil. It'll pile it up here. It'll be up to you then with the 3-point hitch control to drop the soil that piles up wherever you want it to. Obviously, once you get an accumulation of soil, you can just lift up on the 3-point hitch just a little bit. Some of that soil will then fall out the bottom. But this right here, quite a bit different in its application compared with the land plane, where I more or less just point the tractor where I want it to smooth, drop the 3-point hitch to the bottom, and drive on. And as I make my way back to the tractor to get started, it's Kind of funny how you find new jobs here and there as you make your way around the yard. Look at that pile right there. Imagine what that's going to look like once it's frozen to the ground and covered in snow. It's not going to look like much until I hit it with a snowblower. I better take care of this pile here before long. I'm seeing some stuff in here which probably wouldn't feel too good going through the snowblower. A nice snow-covered brick. Sure, that would do well. We'll get rid of that, but that will be another job. And I'm noticing back here I've got some debris to clean up. Never ending, but that's all right. I enjoy it. Here we go. What you see piling up here is moss. So that's the sort of duff layer here in the forest, and a lot of that's coming out right now. Also, with that land plane, I think a lot of people think it's just for smoothing out, you know, driveways or things like that, but check it out. This is just a forest trail. There's a lot of debris on it, sticks and moss and leaves and all that, and look what it's doing here. It's really creating a solid trail, and it's going to continue to knock down this high spot here as I come down it more and more. But the first few passes, as you saw, it's mostly taken debris away, and the next few it's really going to get down to that dirt layer, smooth it out here, and I think what we're going to be left with is one heck of a nice trail. Maybe not so much for a winter trail as much as it will be for the golf cart. I'll have that thing flying down here before long. Anyways, back to it. One of the nice things you may not notice here but there's a lot of tree roots, like big tree roots. And so assuming I have the scarifiers up all the way, it doesn't dig in, it just rides over them. And it spreads soil over it as well, which is kind of nice. I'm just looking in the mirrors here. The trail gets kind of narrow at times. And so I just am watching the land plane go around some of these stumps and trees and that. The land plane sticks out probably about 6 inches on either side of my tractor. So sometimes you forget where it is. Well, took care of that trail. I think it's ready for action. Just making my way over to another trail. This is the spot where the land plane really shines. If you look here, we have some really deep tractor marks. This is where the heavy tractor drives through, and it really creates some low spots on either side of the trail and then a high spot in the middle. Now, I could come down here with the bucket down, but when I have a lot of this type of thing, I find it easiest if I just come along with the land plane, and as you'll see in a minute, it's gonna knock down the high spot in the middle, and it'll transfer some of that soil to either side and fill in the tractor marks. Quite nice that way, especially if you're driving a long distance. And you can see right here, it's gonna really fill things in nicely. So we'll come on down, we'll see what we end up with. Well, there we have it. As you can see, you can really fill in some wet spots. You can take out the high spots, fill in the low spots. Works quite well. Now, this time of year is not ideal. In an ideal situation, it'd be like the middle of summer. Everything would be nice and dry. The soil wouldn't have a lot of moisture in it. Because there's a lot of moisture in it, you do get some clumping that happens, and as a result, it doesn't fill in 100%. But for this time of year, for the time I waited until, it did a pretty good job. As you can see, we've got a little bit of soil that's going to be distributed as I keep driving along. Every so often, as it got packed in there when it was really muddy and really wet, I just lifted the 3-point hitch up and I just took the soil out and then went over it again. Now, this particular section I've gone over 3 times now, or at least this will be my 3rd time going back. You would have seen up here where it was really wet. It did a great job at filling in this wet area. And that's something that I do quite regularly. As you can see over here, this area is a little bit lower, so I'm hoping some of the water will continue to fall into here. I do have to get out here at some point with the mini excavator and dig a bit of a ditch, But the truth is, I have so many of these trails, these ones right here, that it's a huge effort to get them taken care of. As you know, I'm running a sawmill. I'm up there splitting wood. I'm working on all kinds of other projects, mechanical and you know, structural and building wise, and so I have a bit of a stretch for time at times. So this project, the ditching, will have to wait. Up here, the soil's a bit more sandy than back where we just were, so it spreads a little bit nicer. Making my way up, you can see the chop shop. Nice laneway out front of it. In fact, this is probably better than some gravel roads I've driven on. So quite happy about that. It'll certainly be good enough for the rest of the fall, late fall that is, into the winter. As I make my way down here with the snowblower, there won't be any hidden obstacles, of course, unless I forget about moving that pile, and that'll be a doozy. So that's it for me here today. If you have any questions at all about my land plane, be sure to ask it down below in the comments. And as always, if you can do me that big favor, please make sure you give this video the old like-a-roo, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you've been around the channel for a while, welcome back and thank you. And I'll see all of you next time.